Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all my brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Roots of Islam channel. What if the silent serenity of a Buddhist monastery, the disciplined meditation, and the relentless pursuit of inner peace ultimately lead a monk not to the cessation of suffering through detachment, but to a profound submission to the one Creator? Can a life dedicated to the teachings of the Buddha, to the path of enlightenment through self-discovery, culminate in an unexpected encounter with a divine message that illuminates a different yet equally profound pathway to tranquility and ultimate truth? Imagine a spiritual seeker cloaked in saffron robes whose quest for ultimate wisdom unexpectedly opens his heart to the call of Islam, bridging worlds of thought that many consider irreconcilable. Today we journey into the extraordinary and deeply moving story of a Buddhist monk who, through an unyielding search for genuine peace, found his ultimate solace in Islam. Buddhism, founded by Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, is a spiritual tradition that originated in ancient India. At its heart, it teaches a path to liberation from suffering, dukkha, through understanding and eradicating desire and attachment. Central to Buddhist practice are mindfulness, meditation, compassion, and the pursuit of enlightenment or nirvana, a state of profound peace achieved through the cessation of craving and the dissolution of the ego. For a Buddhist monk, life is a rigorous discipline of study, meditation, asceticism, and service within the Sangha, monastic community. They renounce worldly possessions and pleasures, dedicating their lives to the spiritual path, often living in monasteries, chanting ancient sutras, and seeking wisdom through deep contemplation. The pursuit of peace in Buddhism is often an internal journey, focused on transforming the mind and understanding the impermanence of all phenomena. In the modern global landscape, religious traditions are often viewed as distinct, sometimes even competing entities. The idea of a Buddhist monk, a figure synonymous with introspection and a philosophy that doesn't explicitly refer to an external, singular creator God, embracing Islam, a faith rooted in absolute monotheism and submission to God's will, might seem perplexing, even contradictory to many. It challenges preconceived notions about the nature of faith, conversion, and the very paths to spiritual enlightenment. For a monk, such a decision would involve not just a personal spiritual shift, but a profound severance from his entire way of life, his community, his vows, and the spiritual framework that has guided every breath for decades. It demands an extraordinary level of intellectual honesty and spiritual courage to abandon a deeply entrenched identity and step into a new, often misunderstood, religious landscape. Yet despite their apparent differences, both Buddhism and Islam share profound commonalities. An emphasis on discipline, ethical living, compassion, and the pursuit of ultimate truth. Both traditions offer a path to inner peace and a framework for understanding human existence. The stories of individuals who transition between these seemingly disparate faiths are not merely anecdotes. They are powerful narratives that highlight the universal human quest for meaning, the diverse ways in which divine guidance manifests, and the capacity of the human heart to recognize truth beyond the confines of inherited or familiar doctrines. The journey of a Buddhist monk to Islam is a testament to the unyielding human desire for ultimate peace, a peace that, for some, is finally found in the profound submission and clarity offered by Islam. It compels us to look beyond superficial differences and recognize this shared spiritual yearning that unites humanity. Our story begins in the tranquil hills of a lush, emerald-green landscape, at a secluded Buddhist monastery, nestled amidst ancient trees and whispering winds. Here, Bhikkhu Ananda, a name he adopted signifying bliss or joy, had spent over 30 years of his life. Born Keshav into a devout Buddhist family in Southeast Asia, he had entered the monastery as a young man, drawn by the promise of inner peace and freedom from suffering. His days were a rhythm of silent meditation, chanting, communal meals, and diligent study of the Pali Canon. Ananda was highly respected within the Sangha for his profound understanding of the Dharma, his unwavering discipline, and the deep serenity that seemed to emanate from his very being. He taught younger monks, guided lay practitioners, and truly embodied the ideal of a dedicated monastic life. For decades, Ananda pursued nirvana with unwavering focus. He experienced moments of profound tranquility, periods of deep insight into the nature of impermanence, and a diminishing of worldly desires. Yet, as he delved deeper, a subtle, persistent question began to stir within him. a quiet ripple in the vast ocean of his meditative peace. He found answers to how to escape suffering, but a profound ultimate why remained elusive. Why this cycle of existence? Why consciousness? Was there a primordial source, a foundational truth beyond the interconnectedness of all phenomena? The concept of no self, anatta, provided liberation from ego, but sometimes left him with a subtle yearning for an ultimate reference point, a divine center to which all existence ultimately returned. The turning point was subtle, almost imperceptible. A new lay devotee began visiting the monastery for meditation retreats. He was a quiet man named Raihan, a Muslim convert from the West who possessed a remarkable serenity similar to Ananda's, yet it felt different. Less about detachment, more about gratitude. Raihan, out of respect, never initiated religious discussions, but he would often be seen in a quiet corner, prostrating in a way Ananda found both intriguing and strangely familiar, reminiscent of ancient spiritual postures. One day, Ananda noticed Raihan subtly making a small circular motion with his fingers, counting on them. Curious, Ananda asked, "What is that practice, friend?" Raihan smiled warmly. "It is dhikr, Venerable Ananda. Remembrance of God, counting his beautiful names, seeking his blessings." This concept of remembrance of God was foreign, yet compelling. Ananda had learned to transcend thought, to quiet the mind, but the idea of active remembrance of a divine being was a new paradigm. His intellectual curiosity, honed by years of rigorous study, was piqued. He began to observe Raihan more closely, noticing his meticulous cleanliness before prayer, his humble demeanor, and the profound peace that settled upon him during his prostrations. Ananda, always a seeker of truth, eventually approached Raihan again. "Your practice, so it seems to bring you great peace. What is this God you remember?" Raihan, with great respect, began to explain. He spoke of Allah, the one unique God, the creator of all that exists, who is unlike his creation. He spoke of prophets, a continuous chain from Adam to Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and finally Muhammad. Peace be upon them all calling to the same fundamental truth, submission to God, Islam, and the worship of him alone. He spoke of the Quran, a final revelation preserved from error, a direct message from the Creator to humanity. Ananda found himself captivated. The concept of a singular transcendent creator resonated deeply with his philosophical search for an ultimate source. He borrowed a translation of the Quran from Raihan, beginning his study in secret late into the night by the dim light of an oil lamp in his monastic cell. What he discovered in the Quran was a profound, holistic vision of existence. The Quran spoke of a universe created with purpose, not randomness. It invited contemplation of the natural world as signs, ayat, of God's power and wisdom, a concept that harmonized with his own Buddhist practice of observing nature, but now with a divine authorship. Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of night and day are signs for those of understanding. Surah Al-Imran 3:190. He was particularly struck by the Quran's emphasis on the purpose of humanity, to worship and serve God not in a servile way but out of love, gratitude, and a desire to attain his pleasure. This offered a profound why that transcended the endless cycle of suffering. The directness of the relationship with God without intermediaries, the clarity of accountability for one's actions, and the promise of eternal peace in paradise, Jannah, for those who submit and do good, provided a completion to his spiritual quest that he had never anticipated. The concept of compassion, rahmah, in Islam, the boundless mercy of God, and the requirement for Muslims to show compassion to all creation, resonated with his Buddhist values. But it was grounded in a divine source, giving it a profound, ultimate foundation. The community aspect, ummah, the brotherhood and sisterhood of believers united by faith, provided a sense of belonging and mutual support that transcended cultural differences, a different kind of sangha, yet equally powerful. Ananda's internal struggle was immense. He loved his monastery, his fellow monks, the life he had known for decades. The thought of leaving it, of breaking his vows, of abandoning his identity was excruciating. He meditated for days, seeking clarity, praying for guidance. Each time, the verses of the Quran, the profound simplicity of Tawhid, and the spiritual peace he felt when contemplating Allah's attributes pulled him with an irresistible force. He realized that the peace he sought in Buddhism was a profound stillness of the mind, but the peace offered by Islam itself, meaning submission leading to peace, was a holistic tranquility of the soul achieved through alignment with the divine will. It was a peace that encompassed life's purpose, not just its cessation. Finally, with tears in his eyes, Ananda made the most difficult decision of his life. He approached his abbot, explaining his spiritual journey with profound respect and humility. The abbot, a wise and compassionate man, listened gravely, though with evident sadness. He understood that Ananda's quest for truth was sincere. In a small gathering, away from the public gaze, Bhikkhu Ananda, now truly Ananda in his surrender to God, uttered the Shahada. His voice, usually calm and measured, trembled with the weight of decades and the lightness of new beginnings. Ashhadu alla ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The serenity he had sought through meditation now encompassed his entire being, a profound peace that flowed from total submission to Allah. His life transformed. He left the monastery, respectfully bidding farewell to his former community. He embraced a new life, learning Arabic, studying the Quran and Sunnah, and finding a welcoming community among Muslims. He used his profound understanding of spiritual paths to bridge gaps, explaining Islam to those from Buddhist backgrounds with empathy and insight, and sharing his journey with a wisdom born of two worlds. He became a testament to the universality of truth and the capacity of the human heart to find its ultimate home. The remarkable story of a Buddhist monk embracing Islam carries profound implications that extend far beyond a single individual's spiritual journey. Firstly, it stands as a powerful testament against the common misconception of a fundamental, irreconcilable divide between Eastern and Western spiritual traditions, or between contemplative philosophies and Abrahamic monotheism. It demonstrates that sincere spiritual inquiry can transcend cultural, doctrinal, and historical boundaries, revealing universal truths that resonate across seemingly disparate paths. Such conversions compel both Buddhists and Muslims, and indeed all spiritual seekers, to engage in more nuanced interfaith dialogue, fostering understanding and respect rather than entrenched difference. Secondly, these narratives highlight the enduring human quest for ultimate meaning and peace, a quest that often leads individuals to question inherited traditions and explore new spiritual horizons, even from positions of deep immersion. They underscore that true fulfillment might not be found in conventional success or even familiar spiritual practices, but in a profound, often challenging reorientation of the heart towards what is perceived as ultimate truth. This challenges the notion that religious identity is merely an inherited label, showcasing it instead as a dynamic personal journey of discovery and conviction. Finally, the story of a monk's conversion serves to humanize Islam for those unfamiliar with it, presenting a face of the faith that is deeply intellectual, peaceful, and universally appealing, thus countering pervasive stereotypes and fostering greater empathy and acceptance in a pluralistic world. The journey of a Buddhist monk embracing Islam, especially from a position of profound spiritual authority, constitutes a profoundly controversial leadership that challenges multiple layers of societal and religious norms. Firstly, the very act of renouncing his monastic vows and Buddhist identity is an extraordinary and controversial form of personal leadership. For decades, his life embodied the ideals of Buddhist monasticism. His decision to leave this life and embrace Islam directly challenges the expectations of his former community and the fundamental tenets of a tradition that typically sees its own path as complete. This controversial leadership demonstrates that truth, for some, transcends even the most sacred of inherited vows and established spiritual frameworks, forcing a re-evaluation of what constitutes ultimate spiritual authority. Secondly, his intellectual and spiritual articulation of finding peace in Islam represents a controversial form of intellectual leadership. Having deeply studied Buddhist philosophy and meditation for decades, his eventual conviction in the absolute oneness of God, Tawhid, and the comprehensive guidance of the Quran offers a powerful yet unsettling perspective. This leadership is controversial because it suggests that answers to profound existential questions, perhaps left open or approached differently in his previous path, were ultimately found in Islam, thereby challenging the completeness or ultimate sufficiency of his former beliefs. His ability to draw comparisons and highlight what resonated with him from an informed perspective makes his stance uniquely persuasive and therefore controversial. Thirdly, his conversion fosters a controversial interfaith dialogue that pushes beyond superficial courtesies. By having experienced both deeply, he possesses a unique voice capable of explaining Islam to a Buddhist audience with profound empathy and insight, and vice versa. This leadership is controversial because it forces direct and often uncomfortable conversations about theological differences and spiritual destinations, daring to suggest convergence where many prefer clear separation. His journey becomes a bridge that some may cross with curiosity, while others may view with suspicion, making his very existence a catalyst for challenging entrenched perceptions. Finally, his life embodies a controversial leadership in redefining spiritual fulfillment. While Buddhism seeks peace through detachment and the cessation of craving to achieve nirvana, Islam seeks peace through active submission to God's will and striving for his pleasure in this life and the hereafter. His conversion showcases a choice for a peace that is not merely the absence of suffering, but the presence of divine connection and purpose. This is controversial because it offers an alternative and potentially challenging vision of ultimate spiritual success, demonstrating that the profound journey of the heart can lead to unexpected and transformative destinations. With that said, thanks for watching, and until the next script must